Hello YouTube, it's me. Okay, so starting off, we've got Aatrox. He's got his Q. He's got three different like stages. So like the first one, it's like a line, and at the tip, it's like a penis. At the tip, if you hit him at the tip, it's like whoosh, and here's the tip. If you hit him at the tip, they get knocked up and it does extra damage. And then the second part of his Q, it's like wide. It's wide, and then at the top, so like it's wide, and then here's the top. If you hit it there, it does the knock up and extra damage. And the third one, it's a circle in the middle, and it's just one circle right beneath him. And then if you boom, it's a knock up, more damage. Then his W, he like shoots this thing out, and then it gives you like a box. You're in a box. And then if you don't get out of the box in time, you get yanked back in the middle. Yeah. And then his E is like a short little dash that you can use with his Q. And his R makes him very angry. I don't know what else it does. It makes him angry and scary. And his passive, it's an empowered auto, and it gives him like bonus damage and lifesteal. And that Aatrox. That's Aatrox. Then we go Ari. She's got a passive. And then her Q, she shoots out a ball. And it goes forward and it comes back. And she gets bonus movement speed when it's coming back. And I think it heals her. And then she's got a W. And it's like these little fires around here. And then they shoot out. And they like lock on targets. I think they prioritize. It goes like champions and then low health minions and then everything else. They don't do a lot of damage, and it's pretty useless. And then her E, it's like just a straight line, and if you hit something with it, they get charmed and they start walking towards you and they can't do anything. And her R gives her a dash that can go over walls, and it shoots out a little cum shot, and it's like it does a little bit of damage. And you can do it 3 times. So like you dash and you throw your stuff, and then a Kali. So I'm pretty sure her passive is when she deals magic damage to someone, she gets a circle. A circle like comes out from where she damaged them, and if she walks out of that circle, she can get an empowered auto off. And her Q is like Aatrox's, but it's short range, so it's got that little tip. It's got a tipper, like Marth from Smash Bros. And if you hit it, it slows them a little bit. And she throws knives, whoosh. That's whoosh. And then her W is she puts a shroud down, and it's like a donut. And you can't see her when she's in the part of the donut that you eat. And it was really stupid when it first came out, because even if she went under a turret, even the turret couldn't see her. And then her E, she throws a shuriken out, and then she goes back. But then if she reactivates it, she can jump back to where if the shuriken hits something. So like if you E a minion, and then you E again, you go back, but then you go forward. And she can E a champion or a minion, or she can E her shroud too. So you put the shroud down in the E, and you hit the shroud with the E, then you can dash towards the shroud. And her R has 2 parts. The first part, it has to be done on an enemy, so you have to like hover over an enemy to use the first part, and she just dashes forward and does a little bit of damage. And then to the second part, you can aim it anywhere, and it's like an execute. And then Alistar, I think his passive is like minions die around him, and then if you kill enough, it heals you and someone near you. And then his Q is like the I think I don't know. I know what his abilities are, but I don't know what keys are. So I think his Q is the headbutt. So he like jumps forward, and then he headbutts someone. He knocks them away. But then if you use his E, it knocks them up. So you can headbutt, and then instead of knocking away, you knock them up. So it's like bam, and they get knocked up. And then his W, he like starts making tremors all around him, and then if a champion gets hit by his tremors, his next auto stuns, and his R is like increased tenacity and reduced damage dealt to him. And then a Moo, his passive is that he's very sad, and then his Q, you shoot it out, and then if it hits someone, it stuns them and it brings a Moo to them. And then his W is like a passive aura around him that deals damage. I think it's percent health damage. And his E, he goes like, and then all the bandages come out, and it does a little bit of damage in AoE. And then his R is like a big thing that stuns people. So you like Q into the enemy team, and you R, and then it's like a big area that if you get hit by it, you get stunned. And then Anivia, her passive is if she hits someone. Okay, no, wrong. When she dies, she turns into an egg, and if you can't kill the egg, then she revives, but it's a really long cooldown. And her Q, she shoots it out, it's just a little like a ball thing, and if you get hit by it, you get stunned. And her W, she puts a wall down, and you can't walk through the wall because it's a wall. And then her E, if you get hit by her Q, it does extra damage, but if you don't get hit by her Q, then it doesn't do a lot of damage. Then her R, she puts an area down, and it's like damage over time. It does a lot of damage. It's not really fair. She puts it, and it's a blizzard, because she's ice, and if you get hit by that, her E does bonus damage too. Then Annie, her passive is every 4 abilities stun. And then her Q is little like a fireball. Then her W is in front of her, it's like a cone. Then her E makes her faster, and it reduces damage, and it like gives an aura if you put it on Tibbers, which is her ultimate. She puts it down and then does some damage, and then it summons a bear that hits things, and you can put your E on it. Then Ophelios, his passive is that I think that his passive is that he can't upgrade his abilities, but he gets his 4 guns, and he upgrades his stats instead. So Ophelios is very different than any other champion because he's only got 2 abilities. No, he's got 3. So his first ability is he can switch between different guns that he uses. And he's got 4 different guns. He's got like a sniper, and he's got a flamethrower that does AoE, and he's got this one that if you hit somebody with it, they get slowed, and then he's got this close range chakram one. So the sniper, each gun has a different ability and a different ult. So the sniper's ability is a long range thing. It goes, and if it hits someone, you can attack them from a really long range away. And then he's got his lifesteal one, and it's like, you know. And then he's got the chakram one. You put it down as a turret, and it shoots things. It shoots the other gun, whatever. And then the flamethrower, he just like, whoosh. And then Ophelios, and then Ash. Yeah, I'm just kidding. Ophelios, his other abilities, he can switch guns, and then that's it. And then Ash, she has a passive, and then her Q is... No, Ash's passive is that her abilities and attacks slow, and that she can't crit, but when she does build crit, it makes the slow more, and it makes her, when she attacks slow enemies, do more damage. And then her Q is if you auto attack 3 times, she can start shooting. She shoots like a machine gun after you activate it. Her W is like a volley of arrows. It goes out really far, and it slows. And then her E, she shoots a hawk that gives you vision, and it's really lame. And then her R is it can go across the map, and if it hits somebody, it stuns them. And then Aurelian Soul, his passive is that he's got 3 things circling around him, and they do damage to everything they hit. And then his Q is he shoots this galaxy out, and it stuns people, and it gets bigger the more it travels. And his W is the 3 things that are revolving around him, his W that makes him go out, and they spin faster, and they do more damage. And his E, he can go across. He can just zoom. He zooms over walls and stuff. And then his ultimate, he shoots a beam out of his face, and then it knocks everyone back to perfect distance, so his spinny things can hit them. And then Azir, what the fuck? He I think his passive is when a turret on your team is destroyed, he can make a new one that's weaker, but it's still there. And his Q, his W, I gotta start with his W because he's a bit built different. His W summons a Sand Soldier, and then if you're close, but you don't have to be too close, like medium distance away from the Sand Soldier, your auto attacks turn into his auto attacks, and they scale with magic damage. And then his Q makes it so all the Sand Soldiers that he summoned dash to a location. Then his E makes it so he can dash to a Sand Soldier, and it gives him a shield. But if you hit an enemy on the way towards your Sand Soldier with your E, then you summon another one. Or you don't get a shield when you dash to it, and you only get a shield if you hit the person. It might be that. And his R, he makes a wall, and if you run into the wall, you get bounced back. And then Bard has a passive, and he gets the meeps around the map, and if you pick up them, you do more damage with your autos, I think. And then his Q, he shoots it out, and if it hits something and then it hits another thing, like a wall, so if it hits a minion and then a wall, it'll stun the minion. Or if you hit a champion and then a minion, it stuns them both. And if you hit a champion and a wall, it stuns them. And if you hit two champions, it stuns them. Then his W, he puts a little hot cocoa down, and then you wait a little bit, and then the cup fills up, and then you eat it, and then you get healed, and you go fast. And his E, he makes a tunnel that everybody can go through that moves you through walls. And his R, it's really long range, and you throw it, and then if you get caught in it, you can't move, but you can't take any damage, and you can't do anything, and you can't take any damage for like 2.5 seconds. And then Blitzcrank, his passive is Mana Shield, and when he gets low HP, he gets a shield based on the mana that he has. And then his Q is it's a hook, and he shoots it out, and then if you get hit by it, it'll pull you into him. And his W increases his attack speed and movement speed for a little bit, but then after it wears off, his movement speed gets reduced. And then his E is an empowered auto, so you walk up and you press E and he uppercuts, and then it knocks him up. It does a little bit more damage. And his R has another passive on it, where it's got a passive. So he walks around, and then lightning bolts come down and they hit somebody. And then when you activate your R, it's like a AoE thing. It's a short range around him, and it silences everybody gets hit by. And Brand, if you hit 3 abilities, they get this ring of fire around him, and then it explodes and it does a lot of damage. So his Q is just a fireball, and then his W, it's like a circle on the ground, and he can aim it, and then you put it down, and then like a short time after, it explodes. And his E is just a point and click, so you point and you click, and then it lights him on fire. But oh god, wait. So if you hit somebody with an ability, and then you use a different ability, the ability has bonus effects. So if you E someone and then Q someone, it'll stun them. And if you Q someone and then E someone, they like explode out a little bit. And then if you E someone and W someone, it'll do extra damage. Yeah, and then his ult, it's a fireball, and it bounces between people, and it applies the Oh, wait, no, that's what his passive is. His passive is his abilities apply Blaze, and then the other abilities have bonus effects if they consume Blaze. So his R applies his passive to everybody. So like if you R someone and then you Q someone, it'll stun them. But if you just Q someone, it won't stun them. But it works with all of his abilities. So you can EQ someone and you got it. And then Braum, his passive is that his Q and his autos apply a stack to a person, to a champion, enemy champion. And then if he attacks them or an ally auto attacks them 4 or 5 times, I'm not sure which one it is, then they get stunned. So his Q's a little projectile, and it applies the stack. And then his W is he jumps to an ally, and then it gives them bonus resistances, and it gives him bonus resistances. And then his E, he puts up a shield, and it doesn't let any projectiles through. Yeah. And then his R, he slams the ground, and then it shoots out, and everybody that gets hit by it gets knocked up. And then Caitlyn is every 6 autos is an empowered auto. It's called a headshot. And if you're standing in a bush, 1 auto will count for 2. So, and then her Q, she shoots a projectile out, and it does more damage. Okay, it shoots a projectile out, and it pierces everything. But the first thing that it pierced, it does extra damage to. But after it pierces someone, it gets wider. And then her Q is her W is a little trap on the ground. And if you step in the trap, she gets a headshot. A free headshot. He gets increased range targeting you. And the attack will be a guaranteed headshot, so it does a lot of damage. And then her E, she shoots out a net. And then if you get hit by the net, you get slowed, and Caitlyn gets shot back. So she shoots the net, and boom, she gets shot back. And then if you hit by the net, she gets another headshot on you. And her R is really long range, and it's a point and click. So you point and click, and then it shoots out a projectile, and it does some damage. And then Camille, her passive is when she gets to kind of low HP, a shield. She gets a shield based on if you're an AP user or an AD user. And it's got like a kind of low cooldown. Her Q, it's got 2 parts. So she Qs and it does a little bit extra damage. And then you can wait or you can do it instantly. And if you do it instantly, it doesn't do that much damage. But if you wait, it just it does some bonus true damage. And it does a lot of damage if you wait, so you should wait. And then her W, it's got a tipper, but the tipper is big. And then the part that's not the tipper is small. But if you hit him with the small part, it doesn't do anything. If you hit him with the big part, it slows them and it heals you. And then if you hit them, it heals you some more. And then her E, she shoots out a grappling hook, and you shoot it on the wall, and then you go forward. So it's like, here's the wall, here's Camille, and you stick on the wall, and it's got bonus range. If the second part is aimed at another champion, it's got bonus range. But if you don't aim it at an enemy champion, it doesn't go anywhere. And then her R, so it's a point and click, and then she gets invincible for a little bit, not even a second, but she is invincible, so you can dodge stuff. And then she puts an area around another champion, and the other champion can't get out of it. Even if they have an ability that goes over the walls, they can't get out of it. And then she gets bonus damage and stuff against the person that she ulted. And if there's other champions around the champion that she ulted, they get pushed out of the thing, but they can go back in after. And then Cassiopeia, her passive is that she cannot buy boots, but she gets bonus movement speed as she levels up. And her Q is a little circle on the ground, and there's a really short time where there's a delay when you cast it. So you cast it, and then you wait, and then it explodes. And everything that it's hit, it puts a dot on them. It's poisoned. She poisons everything that gets hit by the Q. And then her E doesn't do a lot of damage, but if the target is poisoned, it does a lot of damage, and its cooldown gets refreshed, and you get bonus movement speed. And it doesn't consume the charge, so you can Q someone and then E them twice. And her W, she spits it out, and it grounds people. So if you have an ability like a dash, you can't use it if you get hit by her W, and it does a little bit of damage. And her R, if you're looking at her, it's a cone in front of her, and if you get hit by it, you have to be looking at her. So if you're looking at her and you get hit by it, you get stunned and you take a little bit of damage. And if you're not looking at her, you get slowed and you take a little bit of damage. And then Cho'Gath, his passive is that if a enemy minion or champion dies near him, he he gains like a little bit of HP and mana. And then his Q, it's a circle, and it takes a little bit. It's got a delay, so you put the circle down, but it's not as fast. It's not as fast. The delay of Cho'Gath's Q is slower than the delay of Cassiopeia's Q. So you put the Q down, and then anybody that's in the Q gets knocked up. Wow. And then his W, it's a little cone in front of him. It does a little bit of damage, and it silences anybody that gets hit by it. And then his E is 3 empowered autos. You get 3 empowered autos, and they shoot out little spikes. So it's got some, if they're like anybody standing behind the person you auto, they get hit too, and it does percentage HP damage of Cho'Gath. It scales with his HP, and then it scales with the enemy's HP. Yeah. And then his R, his R, you can eat 6 minions and 6 monsters. You can't eat 12 things. The maximum is 6. So you can eat like 3 minions and 3 monsters, or you can eat 4, you get it. And then he gains HP for the things that he's eaten, and it does damage based on his AP and like his max HP and stuff. And you can eat champions too, and it does true damage. It does a lot of damage. So he eats stuff, and then he makes this gobbling sound. And then Corki, his passive is this thing called the package. It's got a really long cooldown, but you pick it up from base, and then you get increased movement speed, and your W, which is normally just a little short dash, and it leaves a trail that if you step in it, you get slowed and you take a little bit of damage. It increases the range of that W a lot, and it adds a knockback to it. So if you got a little champion walking, and then Corki's coming with his passive package, and then he can go like over walls and stuff, and then this person gets knocked back, and he can use his W again, so he can like package in and then W out. And his Q is a little bomb, and it goes, and it does a little damage in an area. And his E, it's a cone in front of him. And it's like, it's a gun, and then you get shot. And his R, it's a low cooldown, because his package is pretty much his ult. And you shoot the missile out. It's a missile. And you shoot the missile out, and it does some damage. But then every 3 missiles, it's a big missile that does a lot of damage. Not a lot of damage. A moderate amount of damage. And then we have Darius. And his passive is his abilities that do damage apply a stack of bleed to his target. So it's a damage over time. So like if you hit him with an auto, that's 1 stack of bleed. And if you hit him with your Q, that's another stack. And if you hit him with his W, that's another stack. And it goes up to 5 stacks. It's at 5 stacks, it does true damage. And his Q, he spins in a circle. And then if you get close to him, it's like a pizza. No, it's like a donut. And the inside of the donut, it doesn't do a lot of damage, and it doesn't heal him. But if you get by the big fat outer side of the donut, then it slows you for a little bit, and Darius heals, and it hits you and does damage, and it applies a stack. And his W is just an empowered auto that slows you, and his E, it's a cone in front of him, and then he grabs you. He's like yoink, but it doesn't apply bleed, and it gives him a passive of bonus armor pen the more you rank it up. And then his R, he dunks you, and it does more damage based on the amount of stacks of bleed that you have. And then Diana, passive. And then Q for Diana is she shoots like a crescent thing, and it's like whoosh. And if it hits you, you get a stack of moonlight. And then her E lets her dash to things. But if the thing that she's dashing to has a stack of moonlight, her E refreshes, so you can dash to something with moonlight, and you can dash to something else. And then her W, little balls circle her, and if the balls hit someone, they do a little bit of damage, and then it gives her a shield. And her R, she sucks everybody in, and then it does damage. And then Mundo, his passive is HP regen. His Q, he chucks a cleaver. If it hits somebody, it restores his HP. Well, Mundo, all his abilities cost HP, they don't cost mana. So he throws the cleaver and it takes a little bit of damage, but if he hits someone, he heals it. And he heals like past the amount that it costs. And his W, it costs health to keep up, and its little aura, it makes him, give him an aura around him that does damage. Then his E is 3 empowered autos. And then his R makes him very angry, and he gets bonus HP regen. But it costs him like a chunk of his health to activate. And then Draven, his passive is when he catches axes or last hits. Okay, well, his Q is that he starts spinning an axe. And then you throw the axe and you hit somebody with it with his auto attack. And then you have to catch the axe. So he throws it and it bounces off somebody. And then it's like a little area on the ground. If you step on the area, when the axe falls, you catch it and you can throw it and you can do it again. And it does more damage when the axe is spinning. So it's like an empowered auto attack that you can reset. There you go. And then his passive is every axe that he catches and every minion that he last hits, it'll like add a stack to his passive. And then when you get a kill, every stack of your passive is 2 gold. So if you caught like 50 axes and you've last hit 50 minions and then you get a kill, you get 200 gold. But if you die, you lose half of the stacks. And then his W it gives him increased attack speed and increased movement speed, and it resets when you catch an axe. And his E, he throws both axes forward, and it slows, and people that it hits, it knocks them to the side, and it slows them, and it does a little bit of damage. But it doesn't like cost you the spinning axe. Then his R can go across the map, and he throws both the axes, and then they spin in the ground, and then they hit somebody, and it loses damage based on the amount of people it hit going forward. But then when you call it back, because you can activate it again to call them back, the piercing gets redone. So if like you throw it and you hit 3 people, the person hits last, it does the least amount of damage to them. But when you call it back, it does the most amount of damage to the last guy, and then the least amount of damage to the last guy that it hits. Yep. Then Echo, his passive is when you hit somebody 3 times with autos or abilities, damaging abilities, it does extra damage. And his Q, he throws a grenade out, and it goes forward, and then it slows down a little bit, and then it comes back. And then his W, he puts a zone down, and after a bit of a delay, if he walks into the zone, he gets a shield. But if any enemy is in there with him when he walks in, they get stunned for a long time. And his E, he does a somersault forward, and then you get this ring around him. And if you auto attack, it's like, here's a minion. And then here's Echo. And he does his roll. But this thing is still out of auto attack range. If he gets extra range on his auto attack after he rolls, so he rolls, and then he's like, oh, I can't auto this thing. And he's like, just kidding, because I rolled, boom, and you teleport to it. And does extra damage. And then his R, it's like he rewinds time, so he goes back to the place he was 3 seconds ago with restored HP, and then the place that he goes back to, there's a big explosion. It does a lot of damage. What the fuck is that? Elise. So Elise is Elise is a spider person. So she's got her R changes her from human to spider form, or spider form to human form. And she's got different abilities. I don't know what the fuck her passive is. So her I'm going to do human form first. So her Q in human form, it's like a point and click thing, and it does more damage the more health the enemy has. And then her W in human form is she sends a spider forward, and it's like a homing missile, and then it explodes. Then her E in human form is a cum shot, and if you get hit by it, it's just a straight line. If you get hit by it, you get stunned. And then she goes into spider form, and then her Q in spider form is a point and click, but it's short range. She's melee, so she's ranged in human, but she's melee in spider. And then her Q, little spider bite in spider form. And her W in spider form, it increases her damage and her attack speed, and she's melee. And then her E in spider form, she goes up, and then you can't hit her. and then she comes down, and she gets bonus attack speed, and then Elise, and then Evelyn. Her passive is when she gets level 6, she turns invisible, and yeah, and then her Q, she shoots out it's short range, and it's a little stabby stab, and if you hit something with a stabby stab, you get 3 more stabby stabs. And then her W, she puts a charm on somebody, and you wait a little bit, and then the heart fills up, and then Evelyn moans in your ear, and then you attack somebody that has the heart, that you put the heart on. It does bonus damage, and they get charmed, so they start walking towards you. And then Evelyn's E is a short range thing. It's a point and click, and then just does extra damage. And then her R, she jumps up in the air. It's whoosh. So she jumps up in the air, so you can't damage her, and whoosh, and does a lot of damage, and then she moves back. It's whoosh, and then. And Ezreal. So when he hits somebody with an ability, he gets bonus attack speed. That's his passive. And his Q, boom, he shoots out a little projectile, and it does on-hit damage, and it does some damage. And then his W, he throws it out, and it only works on towers and champions and objectives, so Dragon and Baron. So you throw it on somebody, and then if it hits them, they get a ring around them. And then if you hit him with an ability, it explodes and does damage. Then his E, it's he's got flash, so he E's, and he teleports a short distance, and then it shoots out a little thing, a little projectile that does some damage. And then his R, it's full map coverage, and he shoots it out, and it pierces things. And it's like a crescent thing, and it does some damage. Then Fiddlesticks. His passive is he gets, instead of wards, he puts little clones of himself that at first glance you're like, oh fuck, Fiddlesticks is in that bush, but then it's not Fiddlesticks, and it's just a ward that scares you. And then his Q is whooshing, whooshing, and it's like a scythe thing, and if you get hit in the center of his scythe thing, it does extra damage, and it's got some range. And his W, it's like a point and click, and then it just fears you, and you can't move, and you run away, and it's kind of cringe. And then his E, he sucks everything. So if there's minions around him and he uses E, he starts sucking them, and he gains life. Then his R, he channels it for a few seconds, then he can teleport. He teleports a short distance, and he's got this big old AoE thing around him, and it does a lot of damage, and it fears you if you get hit by it. And then Fiora, her passive is if she's around another champion for a short time, they'll get this thing called a Vital. And if you hit the Vital, it does true damage to the person, and it gives you movement speed, and it does extra damage. Then her Q is a lunge, so she's whop, whop, and then it prioritizes Vitals, and then low health champions, and then champions, and then low health minions. So you can't decide who you hit. You just dash forward, and it's a circle, and anything in that circle, it goes down the list. Her W makes her invincible for a little bit, and then it's so you're invincible, and then you got this box in front of you. It's like a parry. So if you get hit by something that would CC you, like a fear or a stun, and then you parry it, anything that gets hit by your parry gets stunned. And then if you don't get hit by anything that's stunned, anything that your parry hits will get slow movement speed and slow attack speed. Then her E is 2 empowered autos. The first one, it slows you, and the second one, bam, it does a crit and it does some damage. And then her R, it's a point click, so you point and then you click, and then it gives the person 4 vitals around them. So you hit them for extra damage, and if you hit them all, you get this area around your feet that will heal everybody, heal your friendly champions. And then Fizz, I don't know what his passive is. And then his Q, he dashes to somebody. It's you point and click, and then he'll dash to them and does some damage. His W is an empowered auto. And then his E, he becomes invincible. He becomes invincible, but you can cancel it. You can wait it out. And if you don't cancel it, the area where he comes down is large and does damage. But then if you do cancel it, the area is smaller, but it still does damage. Then his R, he throws out a shark, and based on the distance that he throws a little fishy. And the distance that the fish travels, the shark that comes up and bites it is bigger and does more damage. So if you R someone close, it doesn't do that much damage. But if you R someone far, it'll one-shot him. And then Galio, his passive is that an empowered auto. And it's like AoE, so he slams the ground. So if his passive up, he goes boom, and then it slams the ground, does AoE damage. But if passive isn't up, he's just like bah, bah. And his Q, he goes like whoosh. From both its wings, he goes whoosh. And then air things come out, and they go whoosh. And then when they meet up, they go poosh, and it does some damage. His W, it's a circle around him, and then when you let it go, it taunts everybody that gets hit by it. And then his E, he goes back and he goes forward. And then anything he hits, he stops and he knocks it up. So it's like, here's the person, he goes, pah. And then his R, you activate it on friendly champions, and then you jump to them. And then there's a circle, so you R somebody, and then they get bonus resistances, and then you land, and then it knocks everybody up where you land. And Gangplank, his passive is that his sword is on fire, and if you hit somebody with it, they take true damage. They get a damage over time effect that does true damage. And then his Q, he shoots a gun. But then he's got another passive where when you kill minions with your Q, you get bonus gold and silver serpents, and you can use the silver serpents to upgrade your ulti. And his W, he eats an orange, and it restores health, and it cleanses CC on him. And his E, you put down a barrel, and then it's got 3 HP things, but then it ticks down, and then only 1 HP thing remains, and if you hit it with your auto, or you shoot it, it'll explode. And you can chain the barrels together, so you put a barrel, and you put a barrel, and you shoot this barrel, and it explodes. And his R is global, which means it goes across the map, and then it's like cannon fire, but it doesn't do a lot of damage, but it slows people. And then you put it down, it's like boom, 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 boom. And then the upgrades are, he can spend the silver serpents, and then one of the upgrades is in the middle. When you first use the ult, it does true damage, and it does a lot of damage. It's like one big fire cannonball. And then more waves of cannons, and then your allies that run through it get bonus movement speed. Excuse me, my throat's starting to hurt. How much longer? How many champions? I got an hour until Attack on Titan comes out. I'm at Gangplank. Oh god. Okay, Garon. His Q makes him... Okay, so his passive is he regenerates health when he doesn't take damage. And his Q makes him faster, and it's an empowered auto, and it silences people that it hits. His W gives him a shield, and then gives him increased resistances and increased tenacity. And his E, it spins in a circle, and everything that's around him takes damage. And his R does more damage to people that have less HP, and it's a point click, and he smites him. So he's like, "Bah!" And then the lightning bolt comes down and fucking kills him. And then Gnar, his passive is that he gets angry off of auto attacks and stuff. So when he damages someone, he gets angry, and then when the anger bar fills up, he becomes Mega Gnar. He gets different abilities, but I'll get into that in a sec. So normal, when he's Tiny Gnar, his Q is he throws a boomerang, and if he catches the boomerang, then you can the cooldown's lower. And his W is that if you attack the same target 3 times with your auto attacks, it'll do extra damage and give you movement speed. Then his E, in little Gnar form, is a little jump. But if you hit an enemy with the jump, he'll bounce and he'll go farther. And then he doesn't have an ult in little form. But then when he go big form, his Q is he throws a rock. and does a lot of damage. And if you can pick up the rock, then the cooldown's less. And his W is a little box in front of him. When he's Meganar, it's a little box, and then he boom, and then it stuns everybody. And his E is a jump, and then his R in Meganar form. It's like a circle around him, and you can aim it in a certain direction, and he like throws the ground and throws champions. And if you throw them into the wall, they get stunned and they take more damage. And then Gragus, his passive is when he uses an ability, he'll restore HP. His Q, he throws down a casket on the ground, and then the longer the casket is there, the more damage it'll do when it explodes, and it slows it a little bit. His W, he drinks, and while he's drinking, he takes reduced damage, and then after you get like an AoE empowered auto. And his E, he flies forward and like belly slams somebody, and whoever he hits gets stunned and knocked up for a little bit. And then his R, he throws the casket in the air, and it falls down. When it falls down, it does some damage, and it knocks people back. So you can throw it, and it'll knock people towards you. Then Graves, his passive is a shotgun, so he's got 2 bullets in his shotgun, and he has to reload. And then attack speed doesn't do anything for him, but it'll make him reload faster. And he can't auto attack over somebody. So if this is Graves and there's a minion and then there's a champion here, he can't auto the champion because his bullets will hit the minion. And it's short range. And his Q, it's a grenade and he shoots it out. And then it goes forward and does damage, and then it explodes, and it's like a T. So it goes out and it does boom, and it lands and it does T, and then it comes back. And if you hit a wall, it'll come back instantly. This W, he shoots a smoke screen down, and it'll slow people, and then their vision is limited. And his E, if he dashes towards an enemy, it'll give him bonus armor, and it reloads a bullet of his shotgun. And his R, he shoots forward a little shell, and then if it hits somebody, it explodes out. But if it travels far enough, it explodes out, and he shoots it, and then it pushes him back too. Hecarim passive is the faster that he's moving, the more AD he gets. Then his Q, he goes and it does damage in a circle, and his W is like an AoE thing around him that drains the HP and gives it to him, and his E makes him run fast, and then when you auto attack someone when you're running fast, it knocks them back, and then you follow them. And then his R, he dashes forward, and then it fears everybody, and it does a little bit of damage. Heimerdinger passive. Heimerdinger Alawi will her passive is tentacles spawn around her, and then her Q is she slams the tentacle down. She slams her tentacle down. She's like boom, and then her W is an empowered auto, but all the tentacles that she spawn around with her passive will hit the person that she W's. Then her E is she throws out a tentacle, and if it hits a champion, then you like snatch their soul. Then you do damage to their soul, and then it'll hurt them. And if you kill the soul, or they walk out of the range of the E, they start spawning a bunch more tentacles, and they start hitting you. Then her R is she slams the ground. Everybody that she hits with the slam will spawn a tentacle, and then she'll you slam the ground, a bunch of tentacles spawn, and you W, and then all the tentacles start slamming down. Yeah. And then Heimerdinger, his Q is he puts down a little turret. His W is he shoot missiles in a cone. Boom. And then his E, he throws like a grenade, and where it lands, it stuns, and then everybody that hits takes bonus damage from his turrets. And his R, it empowers his other abilities, so you get a big angry turret, or you shoot a lot of missiles, or you throw a grenade that bounces. Bada boom, bada bing. Heimerdinger. Fucking Christ. Aurelia, her passive is if you use 5 abilities in relatively quick succession, like you don't have to do them back to back, but they need to be done kind of fast. If you use 5 abilities, she will get full stacks, and her autos do bonus magic damage and gives her lifesteal, and it's not fair. So her Q, she dashes to an enemy. And her W is, she like puts all of her blades and stuff. She's like, don't hit me, And then she takes reduced damage, and then she's like, whoosh, after the W expires, and it does a little bit of damage. Then her E, she puts one blade down, and then she puts another blade down. Then everything in between the two blades gets stunned, and it puts like, it's like Moonlight with Diana. So if you hit someone with the E, then you can use your Q on them, and the Q cooldown will reset, so you can use it again. And then her R, she throws out all the blades. She's, and then it hits somebody, and it like creates a zone out of them. And if you walk out of the zone, you get slowed a little bit. And everybody that gets hit by the ulti, gives them the Moonlight stack, so she can dash to them and do damage. Then Ivern, his passive is he's a little bitch, and he doesn't want to kill the jungle camps. So he'll like walk up to them, and then he puts a little ring around them, and then after the ring expires, he can click on them, and then they run away, and then they give them the gold that he has, so he doesn't kill them. And then his Q is he throws his seed, and if you get hit by the seed, you get rooted, and then all your allies can click on the person who just got seeded on, and then they can zoom to them. And also he does bonus damage when he's in a bush, and his auto attacks are ranged. So his W, he puts a bush down, and then that's it. And then his E, he puts a shield on you, and then when the shield expires, it explodes out, and it like slows people. And his R is he summons a golem named Daisy, and if Daisy attacks someone 3 times, she goes boom, and then she knocks him up. She gets him pregnant. And then Janna, her passive is that allies moving towards her move faster, and her Q, she gets a tornado, and everyone hit by the tornado gets knocked up, because Janna doesn't use condoms. And then her W is it's a point and click, and she throws out a little thing, and if you get hit by it, you get slowed. Then her E is just a shield. It's just a basic bitch shield, because Janna's a basic bitch. And her R it's an area around her. And allies that are in it get healed, and then at the start, when she just starts it, enemies that are in it gets pushed back. Jarvan's passive is he gets bonus damage when he autos someone, but it doesn't work on the same person twice. There's like a cooldown on it for the targets. His Q is he goes, he like stabs with his lance. His W slows people and gives them a little shield. And his E, he throws a flag down that gives people bonus attack speed. But if you put the flag down and then you cue the flag, he'll dash to the flag and knock up everybody that he hits. And his R, he jumps, and then it's a little crater, and then it like makes a wall, so you can like dash over it. But if you get hit by it, you're in like the center of the crater, and you're just trapped in there with him. And he's a sexual predator, so you don't want that. Then Jax, his passive is when he auto attacks someone, he gains a stack, and the more stacks he has, the faster attacks he has, and it stacks 8 times. And then his Q is he jumps to somebody and does some damage. His W is an empowered auto, and his E, he starts spinning the staff, and he can't take any physical damage. And then after he stops spinning his staff, it stuns people. And then if you attack him too much when he spins, the stun will do more damage. And his R makes him take less damage. And it also has a passive where every 3 auto attack does more damage. And then Jace. He has a passive where he can put 6 points in his Q, and then his R, he switches from ranged gun to hammer. And then I'm going to do hammer mode first. So hammer Q is he flips up in the sky, and then he slams his hammer down and does AoE damage. And W in hammer mode, it's a little AoE, it's like a Moo thing where he puts the little, he's got like an area around him that does extra damage. And then his E with the hammer is he knocks people back. Then his R is he switch from range to, and then you go range, and then his the ranged Q. And then the ranged W gives him bonus attack speed, and the ranged E is he puts a little line down, and allies that walk through it get faster, and if he shoots his Q through the line thing, it goes faster and farther and does more damage. And then Jin's passive is, it's like Graves, so he has to reload, so he can shoot 4 bullets at a fixed rate, but if you build attack speed, I think it gives him bonus movement speed or some shit. And then the 4th auto that he does, it does a lot of damage. And then his Q, he shoots a grenade, and then if it kills something, it's like a bouncing grenade. So if you got a bunch of minions and you kill them, it'll bounce to each one. And if it kills something, the next bounce will do more damage. And then his W, if an enemy champion has taken any damage from another enemy champion or you, and you hit him with your W, it's a really long range, but it's kind of skinny. If you hit him with it, it'll root them. And his E, he throws a trap down it, and if you step on the trap, it explodes and does damage, but it's a delay, so you can get out of it. Then his R, it's a big cone in front of him. It's humongous, and he gets 4 shots, and the last one will do a lot of damage. So he shoots at and then Jinx, her passive is that when she destroys another champion or a structure, she gets bonus attack speed and bonus movement speed. Then her Q is she switches guns, so she's got one gun called Fish Bones, and if you auto attack, it'll increase your attack speed by 15%, and it stacks 3 times. And then she's got another thing that I don't know the name of. I'm not caught up with my Jinx lore. But then she switches her guns, and then it's a rocket launcher and does AoE damage. And it's got more range, but it shoots slower. And her W is kind of like Jin's. It's long range, and it's skinny. But the more attack speed you have, the faster it fires. And if you hit somebody, it slows them. Then her E, she puts 3 little traps down. And if you step on the trap after a little activation, you get rooted. And then her R is across the map rocket. And it does more damage the farther it flies. And then Kaisa... her passive is if she auto attacks or hits somebody. No, if she auto attacks someone 5 times, it'll do extra damage. And then her Q is she shoots missiles out. And they do bonus damage to low health minions, and it's not like there's point and clicks, but this shit's just a click. You just click it and she shoots the missiles out. And if there's only one target, all the missiles will go to that and it'll do more damage. Then her W is a really long ranged missile thing, and it'll apply a stack of her passive. And then her E, it gives her bonus movement speed, and then after it stops giving her bonus movement speed, she gets bonus attack damage. Nope, bonus attack speed. And then if you build attack damage, you can upgrade her Q to shoot more missiles, and then if you build magic damage, her W does more damage, and then if you build attack speed, her E will turn her invisible when you're moving fast. And her R, she can dash long range, and she can dash to anybody that's affected with her passive, and it gives her a shield. Oh my god. Fuck. This is hard. My throat hurts. Callista. Her auto attacks, her passive is if she can't see her target, her auto attack won't do any damage. But after she uses an auto attack, she can dash a short distance in a direction. And her auto attacks do 90% damage. And her Q is she just throws a spear. Her W it has 2 things, so it's got a passive, and the passive is dude. So you got a Oath Bind. So you choose a friendly champion at the start of the game, and you bind to them. And then if the binded champion hits a enemy champion, it will give them a stack of the W, and then Callista's next attack on that person will do bonus damage. And then her E is her auto attacks will stick into the target, and then her E is she rips him out and it does more damage the more spears are in there. So, and then her Q will pass the stacks that are on one minion if it kills. Fuck, dude, it's way easier to give an example. So say she's auto attacking a minion and it's got a bunch of spears in it. She can throw the Q, and if it kills the minion with a bunch of spears in it and then hits another champion, all the spears that are in the minion will transfer to the champion, and he can rip it out. Then her R, she takes the Oathbound ally and sucks him in, and then the ally can be shot out and knock people up. So it's like gang rape. Sorry. Karma does not have an ult. So she gets it level 1, and then you use it, and it'll empower her other abilities. I don't know what the fuck her passive is. Her Q, she shoots out a little boom, boom projectile. And if she empowers it, it explodes. And then her W is a little tether thing. And if you run out of the range, you don't get rooted. But if you stay in the range, you get rooted. And then empowered, it hits everybody in her range. And then her E is a shield. But if you empower the shield, it gives everybody around her a shield of bonus movement speed. Karthus' passive is if he dies, he has 7 seconds to use his other abilities. His W, he puts down a wall thing, and if you walk through the wall, you get slowed and you take bonus magic damage. And his E is a little thing around him, and it does damage. It's like a bigger Amumu W thing that if you walk near him, you take damage. And then also, if you kill something, you get mana back, and that's his E. And then his R, it does damage to the entire enemy team. And I know it like doesn't matter where they are. If they just take damage, and that sounds really unbalanced, and that's because it is. And then Kassadin, his passive exists, and his Q is a little ball. It's a point and click, and if it hits somebody, it stops anything they're channeling, and it does a little bit of damage. His W is an empowered auto, and if you kill something, it gives you mana. His E is if you or other champions around you use their abilities, and then it gives him his E, and then it's like a cone in front of him, and he goes wing, wing, wing. And his R, it's called Rift Walk, and it's a short teleport. And then where he appears after will take damage, and then the more he uses it, the more mana it uses, but then the more damage it does. And then Katarina is really stupid. I think her passive is that if she walks over the daggers that she drops, she'll do a little spin. She do her little dancey dance, and she spins in a circle, and it does damage. And her Q, she throws a dagger, and it bounces twice, and it lands, and you can go pick it up and do just a little dancey dance. And her W is she gains movement speed, and she throws a dagger up, and then it lands, and you can go pick it up. And her E is she can go to literally anything. She can teleport. She can literally just teleport to any single object, including her daggers. And then she's, that's it. And then if you pick up the daggers, it resets too. And then her R, she spins in a circle, and anything that's in her range will take damage because she's throwing knives and shit. And it also applies grievous wounds, and it's really cool. And then Kale is, the more she levels up, the more powerful she gets. So at level 6, she'll become ranged, and then as she levels up, she gets more powerful. And then her Q is she shoots a little thing, and it pierces 2 things, and it weakens their armor and magic resistance. Her W is she heals an ally or herself, and if she heals an ally, they both get bonus movement speed and attack speed. And then her E is an empowered ranged auto attack that will explode. And then her R is she makes her or an ally invincible. And then after a little bit, it goes like... But if she does it on an ally, they can still auto attack. But if she does it on herself, she can auto attack. Oh my god. And then Kayn... Kayn's passive is that... as the game goes on, he gets stacks for attacking ranged or melee champions. And then whoever he attacked more, he can choose to shift in a form. He can choose to change his form. And if he attacked more ranged people, you get edgy shadow hunter. And you become an assassin. But if you attack more melee, you become Chad red form. And you're getting in a lot of lifesteal. So his Q is he dashes forward and then spins in a circle, and it does damage. His W is like a Aatrox thing, but without a tipper, a little box in front of him. It does damage. And if you're Blue Boy, it casts faster, and it's got more range. And if you're Red Boy, it will knock people up that it hits, but if you're just normal Kayn, it will just do nothing. It just does damage. Then his E, he can walk through walls. It's really fucking stupid. He just walks through walls. and it heals him when he goes in for the first time. And then his R, anybody that he damages, he can go inside of and become. He doesn't become invincible. He becomes untargetable, and he goes in him, and then he jumps out. And when he jumps out, it does damage. Then Kennen, oh my fucking god, Kennen. I don't know what his passive is. I think when you hit somebody 3 times, they get stunned. And his Q, he throws a shuriken, and he gives them a stack. His W, anybody that's got the stack on him, he shoots a lightning bolt, and it does damage. And his E, he turns into a little munchkin ball, and a lightning ball of munchkin, and then anything he hits gets a stack on them. And then if you get 3 stacks, okay, whatever, fuck it. You got a little stacky stack on you, and then his W will hit you, because his W can't hit things that don't have the stacky stack. And his R, big angry boy, lightning around him, and then it stuns people. And then Kha'Zix, his Q is a little point and click ability, and it does damage. It does more damage if there's nobody around the target. His W, he shoots a projectile out, and it'll heal him if he's close. And his E, he jumps, and his R turns him invisible. And then after you level your R, you can evolve one of your things, and if you evolve the Q, it does more damage, and it resets the cooldown if the target is isolated. His W will shoot 3 things, and it slows them for 99%. I don't know why, it just doesn't root them with 99%. And then if you upgrade his E, it'll reset on kills, and if you upgrade his R, you can use it multiple times, and his R makes him invincible. Nope, invisible. Fuck, dude. Jesus Christ. And then Kindred, his passive is that thing, you can mark a champion, and if you kill the champion, you get extra range and shit. And then your jungle camps will also have marks, and you gotta kill them. His Q, he dashes forward a little bit. No, it's a she. She dashes forward a little bit and then shoots an arrow at the nearest target. And prioritizes champions. Her W, she puts a zone down, and then the little wolf will bite you if you enter the zone. And her E, she puts it on somebody, and then if she auto attacks them 3 times, it'll slow them. And her passive, she puts a zone down, and nobody can die when the zone is active, and then when the zone expires, everybody gets healed. And Kled, his passive is he's riding a raptor, and she's very beautiful, and her name is Scarl. And he's got 2 HP bars, and after the first one is gone, he gets different abilities. So when he's on the raptor, his Q is a bear trap. It's like a little hook thing. So you throw it out, and it hits somebody, and then if they don't get up far enough away from him, it'll yank him back to him. His W is 4 empowered autos, but you can't choose when to use them, so if it's up, your next 4 autos will just be empowered. His E is a dash forward, and if you hit somebody with it, you can activate it again, and you'll dash to them again. And his R, it just moves him really fast, and it gives him a shield, and your teammates behind you will get bonus movement speed if they follow you, and it'll hit the first person that it sees. And then when he's off the raptor, he gets less movement speed. His Q is a little shotgun, and his W is the same. And then if he kills enough minions, and/or damages enemy champions or damages towers, he can get back on his raptor and it restores his HP. Kog'Maw, his passive is when he dies, he gets to run around a little bit and then explode, and it does true damage. It's really bad. And then his Q, he shoots a little cum ball out, and if it hits you, it reduces your armor and magic resistance. And his W, it empowers his autos for a period of time that gives him more range and more damage. And his E, he just splurges all over the ground, and it slows people out, it gets hit, and if you walk on it, you get slowed. And his R, it's really long range, and it goes up and then it comes down. It's like an artillery cannon. It goes up and it goes down, and it does more damage the more you use it, but also costs more mana. Then LeBlanc, her passive is when she gets low, she'll make like a little clone, a mirror image of herself, and then she goes invisible, and then the mirror image comes out, and you're like, oh my god, which one is it? Her Q, she puts it on somebody, it's a point click, and then you can use her other abilities to detonate it, and it does more damage. Her W, she dashes forward, and then it'll do damage where she lands, and then she can reactivate her W to jump back to where she casted the W. And her E, she shoots out a chain, And if you hit somebody with it, after a few seconds, they'll get rooted. But if you hit somebody with it, they take damage, and then if the chain roots them, they take more damage. And her R would just let her recast the last ability that she used. Lee Sin's passive is, after he uses an ability, the next two autos will generate energy, because he doesn't have mana. It'll generate energy, and his abilities cost energy, and it'll make his next two attacks do more damage, and attack faster. I don't know if they do more damage. His Q, he shoots it out, and then if it hits something, he can dash to it and do damage. And his W gives him a shield, and you can use it on allies, and if you use it on allies, it's got a shorter cooldown. And you can jump towards with it too, and minions. And if you reactivate it, he gets bonus lifesteal on his auto attacks. And his E, he slams the ground around him, and then if you reactivate it, everything that gets hit by it will get slowed. And his R, he kicks somebody, and then knocks them back, and any champion that hits them, so he knocks them back. It's like a bowling ball, and if he hits the champion, here's a champion, here's the, bah! And then champion goes whoosh, and if it hits any other enemy champions, they get knocked up and they take damage. Leona, passive, and that's her passive. And then her Q is, it's a little short range hook, and it goes over minions, and then if you hit somebody with it, I think like an ally's auto attack will do more damage, maybe. Her W is she takes less damage or some shit, and then she'll like do some shit. And her E is an empowered auto that will stun, and her R is a skill shot thing, and then at the center people get stunned, and then if you're not at the center you get slowed. Yep. Lilia, I think her passive is if she hits ability, she starts moving faster. Her Q is like Darius Q, it's like a donut. No, her passive is her abilities will put a dot on people. Her W, she goes like and then I don't know why I did it twice. And then people take damage. And then her E, she throws like a bowling ball, and it can go as far as it wants, but if it hits something, it like explodes forward. Then her R is anybody that's affected by her passive, if she uses her R, it'll put them to sleep. And then Lysandra, her passive is if she damages somebody and then they die, they'll turn into like a little ice thing, and then it'll explode and do damage to enemies. Her Q is just a little projectile that pierces one or two targets and does damage. Her W will root anything near her in an area, and then her E, she throws it out, and then she can reactivate it to teleport to the E. Then her R, she can use it on herself, and then it'll do damage to people that are around her, or she can use, and it'll make her invincible and regen her HP. But if she uses it on an enemy champion, it'll stun them. But I don't think it does any damage, contrary to popular belief. Fuck me if I'm wrong. Fuck me if I'm wrong, but Lysandra ulti doesn't do any damage to enemies. Lucian's ability is after he uses an ability, his next auto will shoot twice, and the second one will do 75% damage. His Q's, you have to use it on an enemy, and it'll shoot in a straight line. Just a little gunshot, like boom. His W, he shoots out a star, and then it'll apply a little stack to somebody, and if you auto someone, you get bonus movement speed if they get hit by the W. His E is just a little dash, and his R, he'll go, and so he can move while doing it. It's like and it does bonus damage to minions. Lulu, I don't know what the fuck Lulu does. I ain't got no fucking clue. She puts a shield on somebody, and then she can polymorph people, and then when she can ult her allies, and then they get big, and they knock up people around them, and they get bonus HP, and she can give people bonus attack speed, and then they shoot little fairy dusts when they auto. Yeah, I don't fucking know. I have no clue. And then Lux. I don't know what Lux's passive is. I know when she uses her Q, it's a little ball, and if you get hit by it, you get rooted, and it hits 2 people. Her W, she throws it out, and then it comes back. It's like a boomerang, and it shields allies that it hits. Her E, she throws it out, and then it where it lands, it's a circle, and you detonate it. And then the people that get hit by the E, she can auto, and it does more damage. And her R is it's a big long range laser, and if it hits somebody that is affected with your I think if it just hits somebody, the cooldown gets reduced. Then Malfi Malphite, his passive is that if he doesn't get hit for a long time, he gets a shield. His Q is he throws down a wheel of rock, a cheese wheel, and then it'll take your movement speed and it gives him movement speed, and it's really not fair because you can never catch him because he's just this fat ass rock tank that's super fast. His W is 3 empowered autos that do a little bit of AoE, and his E is he slams the ground and it reduces the attack speed of people that it hits. And his R, he just dashes to a location, does some damage, and knocks people up. And it's really fast, it's really hard to react to, and it's really stupid. Meowshahar. Passive. They actually removed Malzahar passive, so it doesn't exist. And then, his W is the one where little crabs will come out and they'll hit you. They hit stuff. And then his E, it's the bubonic plague, and then it'll spread to, so it's a dot. And then when it expires, it goes to the next victim, and then it fucking kills them, and then it bounces to the next one. And then his Q, it's like Aurelia E, so it's like whoosh. But he can only control where, so he uses his Q, and then the gates of hell, and they go whoosh, and they silence everybody that they hit, and his R is just a really long stun, pretty much. But he can't move and do anything while he's doing it, so it's a channeled stun. There you go. Maokai. I think his auto, no, his passive is he gets an empowered auto every once in a while, and it'll restore his HP. His Q is he slams the ground and it knocks people back. His W is he'll like dash to somebody, and he'll root them for a little bit. And you can't hit him when he's dashing to somebody. And then his E, he throws he throws his offspring, and if they're in the bush, they if he throws them in a bush, they get bigger and they do more damage. And they hit somebody and it'll slow them. Sorry. Just checking the time. Not doing too good. His R is a bunch of roots in a line, and they go really far, and the farther they travel, the faster they go, and the longer they root for, because if you get hit by them, you get rooted. But if you get hit, if an enemy person gets hit by one of the tree roots, then it disappears. But then there's still the other ones. And Master fucking Yi, Mr. Yi, his autos have a chance to hit twice. His Q is he disappears and becomes invisible and strikes 3 targets in an area. And then if there's no other targets to strike, he strikes the same target twice. And then his auto attacks will reset the cooldown of it. And then his W is he will regen HP and then take reduced damage. And his E is his auto attacks will do bonus true damage. Then his R is he becomes very angry and gets bonus attack speed and bonus movement speed. And it'll gain length the more champions that he kills. Misfortune. She's kind of got like a Jarvan passive. So like she autos somebody and then it'll do more damage. But then if you auto something other than that target. Okay. Each time she autos a different target than the last target that she hit, it'll do extra damage. But if she autos the same target, it won't do extra damage. Her Q, she shoots a big bullet and then it'll bounce and go through the first target it hits and then hit someone behind it. And if it kills the first target that it hits, it does a lot of damage to the second target. Her W gives her bonus attack speed when it's active and bonus movement speed when it's not active. Her E, it's like little coconuts. Nope, it's bullets, and it's a little area, and it'll slow people that it hits by it. And her R, it's a cone in front of her, and then she shoots a bunch of bullets, but she can't move while she's doing it. But it does a lot of damage, and the waves can crit. Mordekaiser passive is 3 autos or 3 abilities, 3 autos and or 3 abilities. He's got this area around him and it'll do damage. And his Q is he slams down his mace in front of him, and if it hits an isolated target, it'll do extra damage. His W is the damage that he does and the damage that he takes will get stored up and in a bar, and then when the bar is full, when you use your W, it gives you a big shield. But if the bar is not full, it gives you a little shield, and then you can consume the shield to heal you. Then his E, it comes on the ground and it's a hand and it drags people toward you. And its passive is when you upgrade it, you get bonus magic pen. Then his R, he brings you to the Shadow Realm, and it's like a 1v1 arena thing, but he'll also steal stats from you when he does it. So if you're Jax and you use your bonus resistance thing, and then Mordekaiser R's you, he steals some of your bonus stats. Morgana, I don't know what the fuck her passive is. Her Q is a binding, so it goes in one direction. It's a straight thing. No, I don't think that is one direction that goes like. No, that's Big Time Rush, where it's like. Yeah, you know. So the skill shot, it doesn't pierce anything, but the person that it does hit is rooted for like 3 seconds, and that's a really long time. And her W, she throws it down, it's a little shit thing, and then if you step in it, you take damage, and then the more damage that it does, it'll reset the cooldown. And her E is a shield, but only shields against magic damage and CC. And then her R is she attaches chains to everybody near them, and then after a short time, the chains will pop, and then you'll get rooted. Nami passive is that she has boobs, but she's a fish, which doesn't make any sense because I don't think she's nursing any fish. I don't think if I was a fish, I would want any milk. That sounds gross. So her passive is that she's a fish with tits. And then her Q is she shoots a bubble, and if you get hit by the bubble, you get knocked up and stunned. And then her W is she uses it on an ally and they get bonus damage to their next 3 autos, and her E is a little heal thing, and if you hit an enemy with it, it'll heal you and an ally, but it'll also damage. And her R is a big wave, and it moves forward, and it knocks everybody up that it hits, and it speeds up allies that it hits. Nasa's passive is 12% bonus lifesteal. His Q is an empowered auto, and if you kill something with it, you get extra stacks that'll increase the damage of your Q, and it scales infinitely. His W will decrease the movement speed of a target enemy champion, and it's really stupid. And his E, he throws it down, and it's like a little shit area. And if you stand in it, I think you get less armor, and it does a little bit of damage. And his R makes him very, very angry. I think Nautilus... I never played him. I think his passive is when he autos somebody, it's like an empowered auto and it'll root somebody. His Q is a hook, and if you hook a wall, it'll bring you towards the wall, and if you hook a champion, it'll like bring you both towards him. His E, he like slams the ground and slows people or some shit. I don't know what the fuck his W is. I don't know his abilities. I'll be honest. I'll be 100 with you. I don't know. His R is a point and click thing, and it's like a shark that comes up to you, and you can like see it, and if somebody gets in the way, it'll knock them up, and then when it hits you, it knocks you up. It's really dumb. It's not fair. Nidalee, oh god damn it, dude. Nidalee's got cat in human form. In human form, her Q is she throws a spear, and if you get hit by a spear, she can go into cat form, and then her W will got extra range and can pounce on you, and her cat form in Q is like a whoosh, Okay, her W in cat form is a pounce, and her Q in cat form is a whoosh, and her Q does extra damage in cat form if you get hit by the spear. I don't know what her E in cat form is. I know her W in human form is a heal and bonus attack speed. Her E in human form is a trap, and if you step on it, then the cat thing will do extra damage, and her R changes her from cat to human. I don't know what her cat E is. I'm not sure what her passive is. Her passive might just be that she can shapeshift. Nocturne passive is every few seconds his next auto attack will make him spin in a circle and do AoE damage. His Q, he shoots it out, and if it hits another champion, it'll have like they'll leave a trail, and Nocturne gets bonus movement speed on the trail. Nocturne's W is he like attaches a tether to another champion, and then if the tether expires, they get feared or something. And then his E is a spell shield; it just blocks a spell. And his R is he can use it on. Damn, you see that tricep? Boom, boom. His ultimate is like really long range, and you can use it on somebody, and then it'll dash to them, and then it also makes it so the other team is nearsighted and they can't see that much, and it's really dark. I don't know what Nunu passive is. I know his Q is a little bite chomp, and it heals him. His W, he starts rolling a snowball, and then he's like, whoo. And it makes him go fast, and if he hits somebody with a snowball, it knocks him up and does damage. And then his E, he starts shooting snowballs, and if he get hit by the snowballs, and then he reactivates his E, it'll root people. And his R, he starts like, and he starts sucking in air or some shit, and then it'll slow everybody around him. And then you can cancel the R by moving, or you can wait for it to expire, and if you let it expire, it does more damage. Olaf passive is he gains 1% attack speed for every 1% HP missing. His Q is he throws the axe. He throws his axe, and then if you hit him, the longer the axe goes, the more it'll slow them. And then he can go and pick up the axe, and it'll refresh the cooldown. His W will give him bonus. I think it gives him bonus attack speed and bonus lifesteal. And then his E costs HP, but it does true damage and does a lot of damage. And it's a point and click, and he goes. And his R makes him so angry. Oh my god, he can't be CC'd, and his attacks do bonus damage. And I think he gains a little bit of resistances too. Oriana passive is if she attacks the same target 2 times, the second auto attack will do more damage. It's really bad. Her Q is she moves a ball forward. She can move a ball to a targeted location, and it'll do damage. Her W makes the ball come, and then everything around the ball takes damage. And her E, she can move the ball to a champion, and it'll get bonus resistances and a little shield. And if you walk on the W come, as an enemy you get slowed, but as an ally you get faster. And then her R, the ball sucks everything in and does a lot of damage, but it only sucks enemies in. So you throw it, and then the ball, and it does a lot of damage. Ornn passive is he can upgrade your allies' items or some shit. His Q is he slams the ground down, and then a pillar will pop up in front of him, and if you get hit by the cracks on the ground, you take damage. His W is he starts breathing fire, and it'll apply brittle to you. It gives you a stack of brittle, and if you auto attack someone with brittle, he clocks his hammers together, and it does extra damage. Then his E, he dashes forward, and if he hits a wall, anything around him will get knocked up. And his R, he blows the horn, and then a big ass goat comes running towards him, and if it hits enemies, they get brittle. Then he headbutts the goat back, and then anything on the way back will get knocked up. Pantheon passive, I think, is that you stack up your passive, and then your next ability will do extra damage. So his Q, if you just tap it, he stabs forward, but if you hold it, he throws his javelin. His W, he stuns somebody that is in melee range, and then his E, he puts up his shield, and he can't take any damage from anything in front of him, but he can take damage behind him, and he's also stabbing out with his javelin when he has his E out. Then his R, he jumps up in the sky, and then he can, like, move really far across the map. Fucking Poppy. I'm just a Yordle with a hammer. Her passive is every few seconds she gets a ranged auto attack. And then, so you do it, and then it's a little coin on the ground, and if you pick it up, you get a shield. In her Q, she slams the ground, and then after a little bit, the part that she hit will boom, and then it'll do a little bit of damage. Her W, she puts like this thing around her, and then if you're a champion with a dash and you try and dash when you're in the thing, you get knocked up and you can't move. Then her E, she fucking charges a champion, and you can charge him into a wall and pin him against the wall, and it'll stun him. And her R is if you just tap it, it'll pop people up, but if you hold it and hit it, it'll send them back towards their base. 333. Holy fuck, I'm not gonna make it. I gotta go fast. There's no way. Pike. Passive is he goes out of vision and then he restores HP, and his Q, if you tap it, he's stabby stab, but if you hold it, it's a hook and it brings people in. His W makes him go invisible. His E, he dashes forward, and then there's a little after image behind him, and then the after image snaps back to them. Anything that gets hit by that gets stunned. And his R, it executes low health people, and then it'll split the gold between the person that did the most damage to them and Pike, and then if it kills somebody, he can do it again. Kiana passive is like Jarvan's. She hits somebody and then it does bonus damage, but it's got a cooldown on the targets. But then you can like auto attack 2 different things and it'll happen. Her Q, Kiana gets elements. She can dash to the river, she can dash to grass, she can dash to the wall. And the wall does more damage to low health targets. The grass will throw down a thing, and if she's in the thing, she turns invisible. And if she hits him with the water thing, they get rooted. And her Q, she just throws her hula hoop out. The W will dash, and that's how you get your different elements. So, like, you dash towards grassy grass, you get grass. You dash towards a wall, you get wally wall. Her E will let her dash through targets, and her R, she throws it, and then if you hit a wall, it'll explode everything on the wall and do a lot of damage, and it stuns people. Quinn, passive, is every few seconds, like a target where you get to attack it, and it'll do bonus damage. Her Q, she throws her little hawk out, and anything it hits gets nearsighted, and then you also get bonus damage if you hit it when you auto attack it. Her W, she gets vision of bushes and stuff. I don't know what the fuck else it does. Her E, she'll like bounce. So like if this is a person, and then you're Quinn, and you use your E, you'll go like boom, and then you can auto attack him for extra damage. And her R, she gets on her fucking bird and she flies around and she goes really fast. Rakan, passive. I don't know what Rakan's passive is. His Q, he throws out a little object, and if it hits somebody, he can go near an ally and it'll heal them both. His W, he dashes forward, and he slams the ground and knocks up anybody that he hits. His E, he can dash to an ally and then shield them, and he can do it twice. And his R is he gets fast, and then anybody that he touches gets charmed. You fucking Rammus. Okay, you know what I'm saying? I don't know what his passive is. I think it's like maybe thorns. Like if you hit him, you take damage. His Q is called Powerball, and he starts spinning, and he's like Sonic the Hedgehog, and anybody he hits gets knocked up. His W, he turns into a turtle, and if you attack him, you take extra damage, and then he gets bonus damage on his auto attacks. And his E is a taunt, so you point and click and you taunt, and then they have to attack you. And his R is it's like an AoE around him, and it's like tremors and shit. So and it does damage to turrets too. And then fucking Rek'Sai, dude. Oh my god, bro. Oh my god. Rek'Sai, her Q, because she's a she. Her Q, when she's not burrowed, because she can be above ground and below ground, and when she's above ground, her Q is 3 auto attacks, they do a lot of damage. Her W is a little chompy chomp. Her E, when she's not burrowed, is, I don't know. And then she can ult a target that she's hit, and she dashes to them and does damage. Her Q, when she is burrowed, It's just a little knock up, so she'll pop out of the ground and knock anything up that's around her. And then her E when she's burrowed is a projectile. It doesn't do much damage. And then she can, when she's burrowed and she uses her W, she makes little tunnels that she can go through walls with. Oh god, fuck, dude, oh my god. Her Rel, her passive is when she auto attacks someone, she steals their armor. Her Q is like Jarvan Q. She just like thrusts her javelin forward. Her fucking W is like she jumps or some shit. And then her R, she like sucks everything in, and she's like a magnet, and she sucks things in. I don't fucking know. Renekton, his passive is he builds rage, and then if he has above 50 rage, his next ability will be empowered. His Q is he spins in a circle, and everything that he hits will heal him. His W is an empowered auto, and it'll stun things that he hits. And pretty much when he's enraged, or when you use it with rage, it just does more damage. His E is he dashes, and if he hits someone with the first dash, he can use the second dash and shreds armor, and his armor makes him very, 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 very angry. It just makes him angry. He does more damage. Rengar, his passive is if you kill, you have to kill everybody in the enemy team, and then, so like if you only killed 3 people on the enemy team, like 3 distinct champions, like if you only killed the top laner, and the jungle and the mid laner, but you haven't killed any of the bot laners, he will get bonus attack damage. But if you kill everybody, you get like 25% bonus AD. But if you only kill 3 of them, you get like 7% AD, something like that. His Q is an empowered auto. His W, he like does a little damage to people around him, and then it'll restore HP that he recently lost. His E is he throws bolas and it'll slow people down, and his R turns them invisible, and then he can jump on somebody. And then he can jump from bushes too. If he's in a bush and he auto attacks somebody, he jumps to them. Holy fuck, dude. Holy fuck, dude. Riven has 3 separate Qs. They will each dash her forward, and the third one, she lands down and then knocks everybody up. Her W is an AoE stun. Her E is a dash, and it gives her a shield. And her R makes her sword really big, and it makes her abilities do more damage, and then you can recast the R for like a wave, and it'll do damage, and it does more damage to low health people. Rumble Q is a flamethrower, and it's like Corki E. It stays active, and it's a cone in front of him. Yeah. And then his W gives him a shield, and it makes him move faster, and his E is the little taser tase thing. And it's a little projectile, and it shoots out, and his R, it's like a bunch of rockets in a line, and then if you step in the thing onto the rockets, you take damage. But if you use too many of his abilities too much, he'll overheat, and then he can't use his abilities. Rise passive is he does more damage the more mana he has, and his Q, he shoots a little projectile out. Then his W will slow people, but then if you use his W on someone he shoot his E out, and his E will bounce to a few targets that around the first target that you hit with the E. And if you W someone that is affected by the E, it'll root them. And if you Q someone affected by the E, the Q will bounce to all the other targets that have the E. And his R, he like puts a portal down, and he puts another portal down, and then it takes like every allied champion or minion in that portal, and it'll teleport them to the other portal. Smear passive is like Devil May Cry. Every unique ability or auto attack, so like it's different from the last thing you did, will upgrade her style points, and then when she reaches S, she can ult, and it's just a moving Katarina ult, so to like damage everything in the area. Her Q is a gun if it's far away, but then if you use it close, it's a swipe with your sword. Then her W, she spins in a circle, and then she doesn't let any projectiles in. And then her E is a dash, and you can dash to allies or enemies, and if you dash to an enemy, it does damage. And her R, I already said it, she spins in a circle, so shut the fuck up. Sejuani will her passive exists, and her Q, she dashes, and anybody she hits, she knocks up, which is impossible because she's a woman. And then her W, she sweeps with her mace forward, and then she whips with it, and it'll apply 2 stacks of, I think it's her passive. It's like ice armor thing. I know it might be her E. I don't fucking know, dude. And when all the stacks are full, which is gained by auto attacking, she can use her E and it'll stun them. And then if you hit somebody that's stunned, it does extra damage. And her R, she throws this fucking thing, and if it hits somebody, they get stunned. Senna Bobena will like kill the minions or champions, will drop souls, and she can pick up the souls, and it'll give her bonus stats. Her Q, she shoots a beam, and it heals allies that it hits, and it damages enemies that it hits. Her Q, she throws it out, and it's a projectile. If it hits somebody, it'll wait a little bit, and it'll root them. And her E is like a shroud thing, so she uses it, and then all her allies that are in it cannot be seen by the enemies. Seraphine. I know her ult, she shoots out like a thing, and then it'll charm everybody that gets hit by it. Oh god. I think her passive, after she uses an ability and she auto attacks, it'll shoot like some missiles out or something. Her Q is she like shoots she like lobs some shit and it'll pop on the ground, and then her W is like 2 things, and if you get hit by both of them, you get rooted, I think. Set's passive is his auto attacks. So like the first one is a left hook. He's like, bah! And the other, it comes out fast. But then the second one is a right hook, and he's like, bah! And it does extra damage. And his Q is it empowers both of his auto attacks, and his W is it stores up the damage that he takes, and then when you use your W, you get a shield based on the amount of damage he takes, and then it's a line in the middle, and it does more damage if you take a lot of damage. And then his E is he like sucks people in on both sides of you, and then if he sucks people on both sides, you both get stunned. But if he sucks people on only one side, you do not get stunned. And his R is he grabs someone and then suplexes them, and then based on the amount of HP that they have, it'll do damage to the people that he lands on. Okay. Well, I'm checking the time, and it is 3:45, so the Attack on Titan episode is out. I did say attempt in the title, so like for part 2, I guess. My fucking throat hurts really bad.